So, so at CloudxLab, we are trying to make learning fun and for life. Fun as in we are trying to make it like a game. So coupled with live as well as videos, quizzes, hands-on, and having projects along with the case studies based on the real life use cases. These are kind of courses or learning we are providing to the users. Okay, hands-on assessment is something unique about us. So you get a problem statement, you do the hands-on using Jupyter or using console or using other methods, and then automatic assessment happens. Like for in this case, it's this problem statement is to log in into console on CloudxLab, and once you're done, it automatically checks whether you are done or not. Similarly, in this diagram, in this picture or screenshot, on left hand side you have a problem statement to define x as 10. On the right hand side you have Jupyter, and since we have not defined x as 10, it is giving an error. And once we are done with setting 10 to x, and then when we click I'm done, please check, it works well. It says good job, right? So these are examples of automated hands-on assessment. The course objective is to learn Python from basics for machine learning and deep learning. All right. So right now we are talking about the basics of Python. And as we move ahead, we will go more detailed. We will talk about more details of NumPy and SciPy and other libraries required for machine learning and deep learning. So whatever we are learning right now is common basic Python language. All right. I'm Sandeep Giri. I graduated from IIT Roorkee and I've worked largely on the large scale computing. And I started my career at D. Shaw, founded a company called T-Bits Global, and then worked at InMobi and Amazon. And I'm software engineer at heart, and I love explaining technologies to people. All right. So, and that's the reason why we started CloudxLab, to help people learn technology and to learn technology. All right, so that's about the common introduction. Now today I've got something for you, that's something that you definitely would like. So whatever code I'm going to write, I have put it here. Okay, so this is my Jupyter notebook. This is my Jupyter notebook, and periodically I will be uploading this current notebook to to GitHub. Okay, till this point it has been uploaded. All right, not yet. Let me check. Great. So you are able to see the Jupyter notebook, all of you. Okay. So as I'm working on this, I'll be pushing my code to this notebook so that we can share the code easily, and I do not have to worry about creating any other um, uploading this code to any other URL. So all right, so this is a nice thing that happened, so that I can share my whatever work I'm doing with you periodically. All right, great. So all right, so let's get started. So I've created a very brief intro from the beginning. So this is basically the Jupyter notebook. You can you can click on a Jupyter and a fresh new notebook will open. Okay, fresh new notebook will open, and there you start writing your code. This is the first code that we wrote. You can use Python like a calculator. And to run this code, we used shift enter. Shift enter. Great. So we can use we can basically define it like in a very simple way in 2 plus 3, right? All right. And then we talked about variables. We could define variables of different types, integers, strings, and decimal numbers. Okay. And you can print these numbers using a function called print, bracket, x, and so on. Right. So you can see that it has printed these values. Okay. Now, you can operate upon these variables. If you have integers, you can add to it. If you have numbers, you can add to it. And we can assign the new value to the previous variable. So what we can do is we can simply run it like this. So x was 2 earlier, it became 6, right? When we said y and then we printed, it printed here, and this is 6. Then we defined full name equals name plus language, and the name was Python earlier. Now it became Python language, right? Notice the space here. Okay. And then we multiplied x with price. Price was 4.5 here, and it became 4.5 into 6, this 4.5 into 2, that is 9. Then we learned that we can define complex operations, and the rules basically follow the standard mechanism, right? Whereby multiplication is more important than the plus, brackets are supreme important. So things within brackets are evaluated first, then other things. Okay, so this is how the expressions look like in Python, just like usual expressions that we learned in childhood. Now, in the basic algebra, we used to call it. Then for power, we can use double asterisk, and the expression here basically will give you an idea that if things get confusing, put brackets. Okay, so here 2 and 3 will be multiplied first, then this will be happening first, then 2 and 3 will apply, and then this. If two things of equal precedence occur, the evaluation from is left to right. Okay, so that's one thing we learned. And to know the data type of something, use type. For example, the data type of x is integer, name is a string, price is float, and so on. To execute an external command like simply exp.py, use the use run command. Okay, use run command. Is everybody able to see that? Okay, this simply xp.py should be in the same folder as your program. Okay, as your program. For me, you can take a look at this folder in GitHub. You can go to the URL. You'll see one more file there. Okay, great. If things look hazy, change the settings, the resolution to something higher. Okay, let me see if I can zoom it a bit more. Is it better now? Further? Is it better now? All right. To take the user input, we can use the input command. Like, for example, here it's asking me for my name. It assigns that value to name, and then you can print it. Then further, you can do the translation of one data type into another using that function. For example, here whatever we read from the user comes as a string, we're converting that into number and adding it by 1. Okay, so you see here that let's say we enter 34, it will give us 35. Okay, All right, and we can write a program here. This was an assignment to all of you to write a program to prompt the user for hours and rates, and okay, and rate per hour to compute the gross pay. Okay, okay. So Tanmay's question is that for math operation, no need to import math module. So right now we are talking about very basic operators, and these things are available without importing. When we go into more details like how to compute a square root and how to do other maths operation, then we will import math module. Okay, a question from Bintao, that there are different data types like tuple and dictionary. Why don't you teach us them and have some example? Very good point. And we are going to teach, we're going to take those up once we are done with the basics. Right now, I'm just doing a quick recap. Okay, doing the quick recap. Also, at this point, we learned how to handle, how to do the try catch, right? So we did try, and we could say not try catch, it's try except. Okay, we could say print wrong input, right? So if we enter something wrong, like something that cannot be converted, it'll say wrong input. You see that? And since we don't want it to be printed, uh, in case things go wrong, we're putting this also in the try. Okay, so if something goes wrong, it'll just say wrong input. All right, so this is about, all right, so I hope you are able to see this. Y- okay, all right, yes, it has been updated on GitHub. All right. So yes. Then we talked about try catch and converting the numbers, and then we talked about if else conditions. So these are very simple if conditions. Instead of switch case, you have if else. Okay. Then my question is how to raise user defined exception. There is a keyword called raise. We will talk about that one a little bit, little bit later. Okay. All right, so we have if else conditions like this, and sorry, so this a more a more complex example is here. If we can say if followed by a expression followed by colon and then new line or maybe no new line and followed by indentation. Indentation marks the block. Then we have elif meaning else if this is not true, then the control goes here, and then this condition gets checked. And if this is not true, it goes to else in the if there's nothing else, and then this gets executed, and that's it. Okay, so you can see that if I say 3, then okay, so it says it's small. Sorry, this is 2, and I'm saying say 5 here. So here it is showing you uh, medium done, right? Okay, and if I say 50 here, it'll display large. I'm going to zoom it a bit less because it's becoming flickery. So you can see that the large is this. Okay, so you can see that we can create if-else conditions. All right, then we had assignment here that rewrite your pay program and using try and except so that program handles non-numeric inputs gracefully. Okay, and then we talked about functions. Functions are extremely simple. You can define your own functions using the def keyword followed by a space and then any name of the function and then followed by brackets and then the arguments. You can have as many arguments as you wish. and your function may or may not return a value. Here it's returning the added value here. It may not return anything. In case something doesn't return anything, it would be none type, N-O-N-E. Okay, so if you try to assign something from a function which is not returning things, that the value will be none. So here we are just calling this function with two things, 3 and 5. The 3 and 5 will get added and the return will. Okay, so you can see that here the result is 3 plus 8, right? So you can write the same program with a function. So you could define your own function to do the salary computation. Great. Now let's get started with today's session. Where were we? I think this is where were we. All right. So you have to define the compute pay, and that was the assignment. All right. So this was our very quick introduction to a recap of Python. Okay, great set of questions. Keep the questions coming. That is the only way to learn any programming language or any technology. All right, great. So the session is very hands-on. So please keep the. All right. Again, so we briefly talked about function, and now we are moving on to iterations. Okay, like if else conditions and functions. The next thing, the next thing that's very important is the next thing that's very important are the loops or repeated steps. If we want something to be done again and again, we use loops. We use loops because computers are very good at doing things again and again, and we get that done using loops. Here, what you see here is a loop which can go forever. And the way you define this loop is using a variable called while. While is indefinite loop, okay, meaning it will keep running till this condition is true. Here we are saying while n is greater than 0, and we are printing n and then decreasing n by 1. In case we forget this condition, in case we say that, in case we skip this will go into an infinite loop. This will go into an infinite loop, right? That's why while is called indefinite loop. Okay, let me show you again. So you start with, let's say n is 5. So it checks whether n is greater than 0 or not. If it is greater than 0, then it prints n and then decreases n by 1. Okay, n equals n minus 1, and then goes back to check whether n is still greater than 0, and then comes back to print. And then once everything is done, if this condition returns false, it goes down here and prints. All right, so it's a very simple repeated step. Okay, I'm going to just show you that it actually works. All right, it actually works. All right, let me see if I can just. Okay, all right. Right, let me just show you this. So, okay, One more thing while copy pasting the code, these quotes and the dashes, they convert into something strange. So what you see here is that as we went from n equals 5 till 0, it kept on printing, right? So if this was 0, it will never get executed. Nothing came here, right? So if we say 10, it will print 10 times. If we say 4, 5, it will print 5 times. All right? How do I make it? Now it's working. For some reason, it stopped working. All right, great. So basically, using the repeated steps, we can go over. We can keep on doing something again and again. All right. Now here you see that we have forgotten to decrease the n variable with something, right? So n will remain 5 forever, and it'll keep on printing leather and rinse forever. And dry off never reaches. This is an infinite loop. And be aware that we all make mistakes, and more often we do end up with infinite loop. Okay? So do you see what's wrong with this loop? Are you able to see what's wrong with this loop? And yes, I'm not going to give it a try. All right. Now, here's another loop. Though the initial value is 0, so what would happen? Here, what would happen? Is this infinite loop? Yes or no? Right. There is no break condition in this, but it won't enter into the loop at all. Yes. Okay. So sometimes the you want the infinite loop to break under some circumstance. Okay, so you can break out of the loop using the break statement. The break statement ends the current loop and jumps to the statement immediately following the loop. Okay, as soon as you say break, that means the immediate while will end. Okay, it's like a loop test that can happen anywhere in the loop. Okay, so wherever you want, whenever let's say you're creating your own input way and you want the user to type done in order to break. Okay, and that way you'll be able to create this kind of program. Let me show you how does it look like. All right, so here we go. All right, so here uh, okay, so it keeps asking for things, and until I say until I say something, it'll keep on asking, right? And we are saying done now. You see that? You see that? So what's happening here is the infinite loop starts here at this point. Okay, All right. I have updated the notebook, so you can take a look in the URL that I shared. All right. So a question from Gopi is, so does that mean the break statement does not have to be nested in the loop block? Break statement does not have to be nested in the loop. Very good question. Question from Gopi is, what if there was another while inside the while, right? Then what would happen? It would, very good question, it would break the immediate while loop. Imagine that we had another while condition here. Okay, okay, we had another while loop, and we had, okay, and let's say we are saying name equals input, and we are saying that and something like this, and we are saying if name equals empty, then break. Okay, let me show you the full code. So what you see here is an interesting exercise. What you see here is there is while loop within a while loop. Okay, so there's outside while loop, inside while loop. Now, this will break only if the name is empty, right? So what would happen is with this break, only this loop will end. The immediate outside loop will end, not the this one. Okay, I hope you get the idea. So break basically breaks the immediate loop, not the entire one. If you don't believe me, let me show you. Okay, now there's a difference between assignment and now when we start here, now this loop has started, right? It has started printing dot dot dot, and right, and the moment I say empty, it breaks here and then continues the previous loop. Correct? It's continuing with the previous loop. I hope that gives you, uh, right? Good. So basically, this is a kind of nested loop. Make sense to you? Okay. Further question is, can breaks something that's not a loop? No, break is generally used with the loops only, either while or for. As we'll study further, it breaks the the loop. It generally breaks the loop. Okay, good question. Now moving ahead. So return statement in a function breaks the flow of the function, correct? That actually ends all of the loops and returns the value. Wonderful, wonderful. So the moment you reach break, it just goes to the end of the body. Okay. All right. I hope this is clear. So the moment line is equal to done, it breaks and goes to the end of it. Right. Thank you, Mayank. So in C, break also breaks switch statement. All right. So, but I'm not going to do a comparison. I'll just stick to it. Otherwise, it'll be too much of confusion. But yes, very good point. Great. Now moving ahead. So break basically breaks the loops. Okay. Now further finishing an iteration with continue. What you can do is instead of breaking, you want to skip the entire entire conditions and just continue from the beginning. Say, for example, the moment you encounter hash, just skip everything and start processing, go back to the beginning. Okay, so basically what happens is the moment continues encountered, the control goes here instead of going down. Instead of further comparing with the done, it will go back here. Okay, so continue basically continues the loop, skipping the rest of it. Okay, skipping the rest of the lines. Okay, okay, so what we have is we have continue here. Continue basically takes the control to the beginning of the program and starts from there. Okay, I mean, beginning of the program does not mean that it will reset all the values. It'll basically skip these statements. Okay, so that's continue. So using while, break, and continue and if conditions, you can almost achieve everything. Okay, using variables and expression, whatever we have learned so far, using these, you could achieve all kinds of logic. Okay, just that logic could be more complex and you might require more simplification like functions and other things. Good. So what you see is the moment continue is encountered, it basically, the moment something continue is encountered, it basically goes back to checking the condition again and then comes here. And then it's basically it starts from here. Okay, the moment a continue is encountered, the it again goes to check while true and then starts from there. So basically the break breaks the entire no breaks the current loop, while continue skips and moves to the next check. Okay, break does not end the loop. Break does not end the loop. While sorry, I'm extremely sorry. Break breaks the loop, while continue does not break the loop. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you. Um, so here, what we're doing is okay. What we're doing is that the moment a hash is encountered in the beginning, the it will go back to asking you more things instead of printing anything. I'll show you. Let's say I type hash Sandeep, right? It, instead of printing anything, it basically went to the beginning again. It started asking again the input, right? But the moment we say done, it ends. Okay? It ends. Make sense to you? All right, great. So continue and break are two different things. So what we saw earlier was that in case we miss out on, uh, uh, in case the condition of while, the condition in while remains true, the loop may not ever end. it will run till infinite, forever. Okay. So while loops, in case you are in Jupyter and you have run the infinite loop, okay, you can interrupt the kernel or restart the kernel. Okay. There's a menu item called restart the kernel, and using that you can restart it. Okay. Infinite loop are quite common, and you have to be careful about those. So while loops are called indefinite loop. Indefinite is not same as infinite. Infinite is that is running forever. Indefinite means there may be there's there may be chances of infinite loop, right? Indefinite loop is because they keep on going until a logical condition becomes false. Okay, so we are never sure until we check a loop thoroughly whether the loop could result in infinite loop or not. So such loops are called indefinite loop. The loops we have seen so far are pretty easy to examine to see if they will terminate or if they will be infinite loop. Sometimes it is little harder to be sure if a loop will ever terminate. Okay, on the other hand, we have definite loops. Definite loops are basically something that would end, right? Definite loops are something that would end, correct? So, and most often we tend to create such loops. And as this is one of the things that I really liked about Python, that they have kept two different kind of loops. And the moment I encounter a for loop, that means it's a definite loop. That means it's going to end. While while the while loop, the moment I encounter in the code, I examine it thoroughly. Okay. So for example, we want to iterate over a list of items, or say we have a list of items in of the lines of files, and which is basically a finite set of things, right? And we would like to process those. We can write a loop to run the loop once for each of these items in a set using Python for construct. These loops are called definite loops because they execute an exact number of times. We say that definite loops iterate through the members of a set. Okay. For whatever reason, we kind of missed one important construct called array. Okay, so we can define array by square brackets. Okay, so what is an array? Array is a list of item. In Python, they are referred as list. So you can see X is a list. You see? So this is an array, and we write the definite loops on top of arrays. For example, what you see here is a for loop going from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then blast off. Okay, so we can simply say for I in 5, comma 4, comma 3, comma 2, comma 1, and then colon, and then we say print I, and then we say blast off. Okay, so okay, pretty simple, right? So here the for loop is a definite loop. It takes a variable here like x, y, z. This is the name that you can decide. Say I could say countdown, right? And in here I could say print countdown. So it's up to us what variable name we want to give, and we say in followed by the list, and then we say print, or we can do anything here. We can do if else, we can put another for inside it, or we could put another while inside it, and so on, right? So let's say we want to put a while inside it, and we say for each of the members I would like to um, count further. I like to say n greater than 0 and n equals countdown. So we could basically do all kinds of logic using using these constructs. So for could contain while, and further we can keep on writing our code to whatever level of complexity. Okay, but the moment, remember that the moment you have couple of nested conditions, you be aware that probably you are not constructing your logic properly. Okay, okay. Now let me say while n equals this. All right, n greater than 0, we say print. Okay, print. Let's say one dot. Okay, and then n equals n minus 1. Good. You see, so it first prints 5 dots, then 5, then 4 dots, then 4, then 3 dots, then 3, then 2 dots, then 2 dots and 2, and so on. Right? Good. So this is something you can see that we are able to create nested loops. Okay. So basically this is a simple definite loop. And let me, okay. Now, in the same way, the way we defined an array of numbers, we could also define an array which has multiple kinds of elements, or let's say strings, right? Apple, banana, and eggs. Okay, this is for breakfast, right? And so you can see that the X is essentially an array of strings, correct? All right, so we can actually iterate over these things, So we could say for item in X, print item. See that? And also we could further do things. Let me just say sometimes we could also mix integers and decimals together. And here I'm saying print type of item. It's saying that apple, then string, then banana, string, eggs, string, then it's integer, then it's float. You see that? So basically we can iterate over all kinds of things. So the essential part of a definite loop is that you create an array. You create an array and you iterate over that array. An array is referred in Python as list. So you create a list and iterate over that list. Okay. A question from Gopi is, how come it printed multiple dots instead of one dot before each member, right? So you can see that here it printed multiple dots, right? Why? Because we had a while loop here. While loop for it will run that many number of times, correct? So this is an indefinite loop, while this is a definite loop, right? Now, a question from Noor is that what does square brackets 0 mean after line? Okay, I'll show you what does it mean. So let's say we have defined an array like this. We can address any element of this array. Remember that the first element is referred as 0. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, so if I say 1, it will be this. Okay, so I'm just taking a step, skip, and moving to talking about arrays a bit because it'll be used. Okay, similarly, I can also set things to an array at any point. So if I want to change banana to capitals, right? So this is what I do. Okay, so you can see that apple, banana, B has become capital and so on, right? And also I can append things to it. Okay, so I could append cereal to my breakfast. So you can see that cereal has been appended, right? And in the same way, I can remove items from it. Also, there are many cool things that you could do with an array or the list. And to know more about anything, either use help. So I'm saying help X. So it is showing you all the functions that are part of this list. See that? There are a lot of functions, like there is index, there is insert, there is pop, and there is sort. We can actually sort these things. Let me show you what does it mean by sort. So just a second. There is sorted, actually, not sort. So yeah, you can sort these elements here. Capital B lexically comes before small. Okay, in the same way, we could also see other methods on it. So ignore these parts. I'll talk about it later. Okay, so the point I was trying to make is that you could do many things on top of a list. So we could say x dot sort and launch a method on the list. Okay, see, and similarly, if I want to reverse it, I can simply do use reverse. Okay, so you see, first I sorted and then reversed. That means it is banana is last, apple, and cereal, and so on. Okay, so you could do many magical things on top of the list. All right. Question from Gopi: does pipe command more work? Not really, not really. Here, that's why it shows you scroll bar, right? Also, just to take a look at the list of functions on any object, you could do dir. Okay, so we just learned quickly that you could call methods like this also on top of object. We'll talk about these kind of methods, which we are calling like object name dot like this. Okay, we'll talk about these soon. So to quickly take a look at what functions are available on an object, we generally do that. Okay, so we'll talk about these in a while. All right, for time being, you know that definite loop runs on top of strings, right? So we have an iteration variable, and these are the 5-element sequence. So iteration variable will be first assigned to 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, right? That's what is going to happen. Okay. And again, just like while or if or try, except, for loop also obeys the indentation. Okay. That's how it detects the blocks. Clear? So first I will be 5, then it'll print, then I will be 4, then it'll print, then I'll be 3, then print, then I'll be 2, and then print I, and then I'll be 1 and print I. This is what is going to happen. So instead of you writing this much of code, the system had generated this for you. Okay? And internally, that's what is going to happen. So definite loops definite loops end. Okay, definite loops iterate through the member of a set or members of a list. Okay. Okay, so what we do in loops, even though these examples are simple, the patterns apply to all kinds of loops. Okay, so making smart loops, the trick is knowing something about the whole loops when you are stuck writing code that only sees one entry at a time. Okay, so so basically at every point here inside the loop, we try to do things that basically operates on each of the element, right? That's what we do inside the loop. Okay. So while here the initial conditions are there, then in the after the for loop inside it, we do something with this thing. Okay, something with this thing separately, and that's how the loops look like. Okay. All right, let me share the link again. Okay, is it clear to everyone how it works? Now, let's do something useful, something really, really useful. And here is a simple example. Let's say we have a list of numbers and we are looking for the largest number, right? So you have to tell me what's the maximum. So we have 3, 41, 12, 9, 74, and 15. What was the largest number? 15, 74, 9, 12, 41, 3. What was the largest number? Quickly. It was basically 74. Why this kind of animation? Because the for loop that we are going to talk about, the for loop only sees one element at a time. Correct? It only sees the iteration variable, and therefore, instead of the way we are visually seeing it like a whole list, the for loop will only see one element at a time. So how do you find the max of these values? Using an iteration. We will go from left to right, keeping track of what is the maximum value, right? So we say largest so far. That's the one variable we define. An initial value is smallest possible number. And right now, since we know that we are going to iterate over the integers, -1 could be the smallest number. Okay, largest number, because every number would be bigger than this. Okay, so we start with -1, and in case it remains -1, that means there is no number which is bigger than -1, right? Which is of course not true unless the list is empty. Okay, so the moment we encounter 3, 3 is greater than -1, so we replace largest so far with 3, and then we encounter 41. We compare 3 and 41 and keep 41, and then we encounter 12, which is less than 41, so we do not replace, and then we encounter 9, which is again less than 41, and therefore we don't replace, and then we encounter 74, which is bigger than 41. Therefore, we update our largest value so far, and then we encounter 15, which is smaller than 74, and we do not touch that. So at the end of it, we have largest number here, right? So let's try to design this code, and you can work with me on this. Okay? And trust me, it's going to be, yes, we can use anything inside loop. We can use try except, we can use if, we can use if within if, we can use if within try, and so on, right? All right, so let me go back to my notebook. Okay, so this is largest so far is -1. Okay, then we print here before largest so far, and then let me just cut it. Okay, so you see it's -1 right now. Then we say the number is this, and if this number, the current number, this current number is greater than largest so far, we update largest so far with this number. Otherwise we skip it. Otherwise we do nothing, we just print it. And we also print something in the end. You see that it has computed 74. A question from Tanmay: if it's an array, does it have an array.max? There should be a method called max somewhere. Okay, there would be a method called max. I think it is there. Oh, it's there. There's a method called max which we can call. All right. So it's similar to max, right? So we can check whether our calculation was right. So max is, see, it's a. Okay. So it's a simple program to find the maximum of these values. Okay. Okay. Now here's my favorite interview question. Okay. Those who are preparing for a programming interview question, even the senior members, I love to ask this question. Okay, you are, okay. A question from Tanmay: how do we time a program? We'll talk about it soon. Yes, either you could use the Unix command or you could use the constructs provided by Python. Okay, I'm just writing a problem statement for you. Problem statement is you are given stock values in an array, okay, of 1 year, okay, in the form of this, okay, and so on, right? So basically the first value is for the first day, then second day, and this way. So these are 365 values, okay? Okay, they are ordered by the date. These are ordered by the date, okay, and so on, correct? So you give in the stock values of 1 year, okay, and what you need to do is you need to you need to find the, you can only sell, you can only buy once and then sell, right? So you need to find the max profit that you can make. Okay, think about it. It's not going to be easy, and it's a decent amount of problem. Okay, so those who are done with this kind of problem, you just send, let me know. Okay, so you are given the stock values in an array of 1 year, right? 1, 3, 1, 5. So these are the values for the whole year. that means there are going to be 365 values in this, and you can only buy once and then sell. Okay, you can buy once and then sell once, right? So of course you will first buy the stock and then sell the stock. Okay, so you have to, given this data upfront, what is the max profit you can make? That's you have to find find the max profit that you can make. Okay, up to you. So you can give this a shot, and you may like this program. Okay, so yes, it's a little harder program, but it will be done using whatever we just learned. Okay, try to make it faster program. Okay, so I mean, write this program. I know that you can write it easily, just that try to make it fast. Fast as in total number of steps should be small. Okay. Okay, so wonderful. We learned something great. We learned about how to find the largest value. Okay, so I updated the notebook. You can take a look at it. So let me just save, and then I'm pushing it to the GitHub. All right. So it should reflect. Let me just check if it's reflecting on GitHub. Good, it is reflecting well. All right. Great. So now let's move on. We are learning something wonderful right now, and this is going to be very, very useful. Okay, is everybody clear about finding the largest value? So all we did was we started with -1. We kept on comparing that value with each value in the list and kept on updating. So we went from left to right in an array, in a list, and we kept on updating that value with the current value, if that value is bigger than what we have, right? This is what happened. Okay, if we want to count something in a loop, if we want to count something in a loop, we can simply increase it. Okay, we could do, let's say we define something, a counter, the initial value, and then in the loop we can keep on adding to it. Okay, so when we encountered 9, the value will be 1, right? Because it's increased by 1. Earlier it was 0, and then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and after 6. Okay, so this is how we can use counter variables. Similarly, we can also do summation in a loop. Similarly, we can also do the summation in a loop. So we are basically adding this to our initial value, and we are continuing adding to that value, right? So we are saying for thing in the list, jar equals jar plus thing, and keep on adding it, right? So that's what we are doing here. We're basically summing up in the loop. Trust me, it might sound extremely simple, but you can create a really, really complex things, and you can solve really complex problems using these loops. Okay, great. Now, so we did counting in the loop, we did finding the max in a loop, and then let's take a look at finding average using a loop. It's pretty simple. We keep on doing count, we keep on increasing count, and we keep on increasing sum, and then finally we print the value. And what is average? Average is nothing but sum divided by count. Correct? Sum divided by count. Sounds good to you? All right, sounds good to you. Let's move on. Or you want to give it a shot? Okay, so you can see that it is basically, it is here before 0, 0. So before the loop, the value of count and sum is 0 and 0. And then in the loop, in the loop, it's printing the count so far and the count so far and the sum so far and the current value. So current value was 9, sum was 9, count was 9, and so on, right? It kept on increasing. Now the sum became, the count was 2 and sum became 50. Then when the value was 41, then 12 value came. So 12 plus 50 is 62, and 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 3, and so on, right? So at the end of it, we are able to compute average, right? Is everybody with me so far? Does Python look complex to you? Keep on asking, and that's the only way you can learn, right? Let me see if I can. Yes, array does have the functions like length of array. Okay, I can show you. So you can actually say, you remember x dot length, sorry, let me, or you can simply say len and len x, and it should print you the length. You see, len x. Question from Krishna is, how do we get random 365 days stock values? So far, you just do the calculation on, say, 10 values, and that should be good enough. Okay, so the 360, same thing can be extended later for 365 days. Okay, regarding this, the max stock difference problem, sort ones, store min and max get the difference, right? But you missed the point that we have to first buy. Okay, the place where we are buying should be before in the array than selling. So we can't really, if the moment we do the sorting, that order is lost. Okay, the order is lost. So therefore you have to take uh, y- you have to keep track of that order. Okay, because you have to buy first and then sell. Okay, all right, let me explain again the problem statement that I gave you earlier. Okay, so you are given the stock values in an array 365 days, right? So you start with day 0 is this, day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. You can only buy once and then sell one, and then sell once. Okay, so you can buy one and sell 3. You made a profit of 3. If you buy 1 and sell at 7, you'll make a profit of 6, correct? And imagine, let me just change this a bit. Okay, now look at this. So if I buy at 3 and sell at 7, how much profit I'm making? I'm making a profit of 4, correct? I can buy 1.5 and sell here. Okay, and then let's say here, and that these are the only values, right? So if we look at here, we can't really buy at 1 and sell at 7. Why? Because 1 is coming later, because we need to first buy and then sell. But in your algorithm, what you're suggesting is that find the max and find the min and pick up the smallest and the biggest, right? Okay. Binta, I'm continuously updating whatever I'm typing at this URL, and you can look at this URL, the URL which I've given you. There, I have posted the. You see, this is where everything is, right? We're talking about this one, right? Great, great. Yes, you are right, Tanmay, that we have to take care of the chronological ordering. Right? Wonderful, wonderful. So what we learned is how to compute average, right? All we did was sum up all the values, count all the values in the same loop, and then at the end of it, divide the sum with the count. Is everybody okay with this? Finding average is basically total divided by count. So we computed total and we computed count, and then we printed the results. Yes? So this is what we did. Sorry. Okay. Gopi, drop me an email at reaches at CloudxLab. I will take a look. Okay. Great. Great. It'll take a while, and it'll take some time to actually finish this problem. So do not attempt the problem right away. Let's attempt this problem maybe during the week, and let us know. Okay. Good. Good. All right. Now, sometimes we would like to remove some elements, or we would like to say just okay. So we can also put if conditions in a loop in order to filter something. Okay, in order to filter something, let's say we would like to print every time we encounter something which is greater than 20. So all we have to do is inside the for loop, we could say if value is greater than 20, print something. So we use an if statement in the loop to catch, filter the values we are looking for. Okay, So the point is that inside a for loop, you can use if condition, and inside if you can use for, and so on. You can come up with all kinds of, you can actually do anything, and you can nest anything inside anything. Okay, that's an important point. So you could nest for, while, if, try, except, and everything else. Okay, so that way you can construct any kind of logic by using these loops and conditions. Okay, now we could also do things like searching for something, right? Let's say here we are talking about general patterns. So let's say we are looking for a value. Say we are looking for 3. So we iterate over the list and say if value equals 3, found is true, print found value, right? So it's pretty simple. Basically, this is how we can search for something. Okay, so initially this value called found is false, and the moment we find something, we say found equals to true, and then print. Okay, so all we are doing is we're going over from left to right in these values, checking if the value is 3 or not. That means still the found is false, right? Because it's not found, not found, not found, and then found. That's what is happening. So first it'll print false, then the moment it encounters 9, it'll say false because still it's not found, and then again false, not found, and then true. And afterwards it will be true till the end. Correct? Why? Because we are not changing it if the value is not 3. Correct? Had there been an else where we put found equals false, then it would set back to false, right? So this is a pattern that we use for searching. And sometimes when we find things, we generally break at that point. We generally break at that point so that we don't have to, if you are not looking for more values, that should be good enough. Okay. In the similar way, we could find the smallest value. We can find the smallest value. We could start with largest so far, initial value, which is largest so far, and we could also start with a very big number. Okay, and then we say largest so far, and then we were just printing it, and then we compare -1 and 9. If the number is greater than largest so far, we update. Sorry, th- we have to change this program in order to find the largest so far. This is something. So how would we change the largest value so far? Yes. So this is the program which finds the largest. Okay, we have to change this program to find the smallest value. This is the program which we did earlier. This is the program that we did earlier. You can see it here. Okay, somewhere we did right here. Now we need to change this so that we can. Okay. Okay, find the smallest value in this. All right. Okay. Okay. The we basically all we did was change this. Do you think it will work? We changed greater than with lesser than. Do you think it will work? Of course not. Why? Because the initial value is -1 and we are saying -1 is less than smallest so far. Sorry, the 9 is less than smallest so far. It's not going to be updated because all of these values are bigger than -1, right? Therefore, this value is not going to be updated because of these. Correct? Correct? And that's why we need to start with something else. Now, there is something called none that is defined as part of Python. None means no data type or no value. Okay? Instead of starting with -1 or some other number, let's just start with none. Okay? And none is a value which can be used. None is basically not a number. It is when there is no value, it's none. When you do not return any value from the function, it's none. Okay? So whenever we are not defining anything or there is no value, it's called none. Okay? So we can start with none. That means smallest is not yet found. And here we could use a little more complex condition. We could say if smallest is none, that means it is not yet initialized, then we assign that value to smallest. Meaning as soon as we encounter 9, the smallest is going to be none, and therefore smallest will be assigned as 9. Correct? So it will begin here. Check if the smallest is none. If then it basically assign the first value to smallest. Otherwise, what it if smallest is not none, what it will do is then it will do the comparison. Meaning in the next loop, it is going to compare 9 with 41. So initially the smallest is none, before the smallest is none. Then when it encounters 9, it becomes 9 because of this. And then it compares 9 and 41. Between 9 and 41, the 9 is smallest, and then between 9 and 12, again 9 is smallest, and between 9 and 3, 3 is smallest. Okay, makes sense, right? So none is kind of null in case of Python. Okay, thank you, Gopi. Okay, so is basically is an operator that can be applied on none. Okay, that can be applied on none. So is and is not are allowed on none. So we start with smallest. So Python has an is operator that can be used in logical expressions. Is always signify that both are same. It is very similar to equals operator, but it's more stronger than equals. Similar to is, we have is not as a logical operator. Okay. So what we learned in this session was how to use loops. So we learned using while loop, which was indefinite. Then we learned for loops, which was definite, and then we talked about break, continue, and other loop idioms, along with computing average, sum, count, largest, and smallest. We also gave you an assignment to find out the max value of the profit that you can make out of the stock values. Okay, great. Okay, question from Gopi is, in what situation would you use is in preference over equals equals? So whenever I have to, generally is I use in case of the data type like none. Okay, while mostly I use equals equals. When I'm comparing the two values, then I generally use equals equals. But when I'm comparing the two things in a way that I just want to compare actual object, as you will learn further when we talk about objects and classes, then the is will make more sense to you. Okay, then is will make more sense to you. All right, wonderful. So what we learned just now is iterations. Then we are going to talk about strings, files, and lists. Okay, today's sessions are going to be very, very important to us. Okay, a question from Tanmay. If we assign a smallest equals, I did not get it. If we assign smallest equals, is it none? Oh, no. Oh, I see. I see. I think I got your question. So you are saying that what if we assign something like this? Let me just show you. You can at any point of time check. At any point of time check. So let's say we assign something like this, right? So is it none? That's your question. Just check. Is none? No, right? The jet is not yet defined. And let's say if I say, okay, let me also say, um, so here, let's say smallest equals none. And then I could say smallest is none. That is true, right? And there is no such thing called null in Python. All right. All right. So I hope that's clear. You could quickly check all your all your questions mostly using this interpreter or using the Python console. Okay, using Jupyter or Python console. All right. So so let's just take a break for 10 minutes. Okay. All right. So I'm back. Should we start now? Great. So let's start. All right. So all right. So now we're going to revisit what we learned about strings, and we will also go into more details about other topics after this. Okay. So first of all, let's try to understand what is a string. A string is a sequence of characters, or we sometimes refer to characters as letters. So a string is a sequence of individual letters. A string can be defined using single quotes or double quotes. For example, hello and there both are strings. Okay, there is no difference between the two. Okay, just to check if there is a difference or not, you can have a look at, say, hello equals to double quote hello. Okay, and you can see that both are equal, right? So, all right, when we call, when we say a plus b in case of strings, it means that we want to concatenate the two. Okay, when a string contains number, it is still a string, right? It is still a string. So you can see that is 1 equals 1? No. So if I say 1 plus 1, it is 11, not 2. See the difference? So that's how we define the strings. That's how we define the strings. Good. And we can convert numbers in a string using a function called int. So this we have already used, so I'm going to move forward. All right, we can read this, we can read the data using input function and convert that number into integer. Now, get to any single character inside a string using an index specified in square brackets. For example, here, okay, so here, um, here what we have is a string. Let me just select it. So we can get to any single character of the string using index specified. The index value must be an integer and starts at 0. And the index can be an expression that is computed. Let me show you. Let me show you what it means. Let's say we have fruit called banana. Okay. Let's say we have fruit called banana. Okay. Now we can access to the individual letters using the index. So if I say fruit, square brackets, 0. 0 means the first character as opposed to the usual way of convention. The 0 means here the first one, just like in building lifts, in the lift of various buildings, 0 means ground floor. Similarly, 0 here means first characters. Okay, so you see that 0 means B, and 0 means 1 means this. Okay, so you can actually say things like for I in 1. Also, those who asked me earlier, there is a method called range which creates a array array of array of values. Okay, so let me just show you. For I in range and print, see that basically prints all the values, all 10 values starting with 1. Okay, just so you know. So if I say for I in range and I say 5, so 1 2 3 4, or if I start with 0, it'll be 0 1 2 3 4. And if I say here fruit, and I, you know what I'll get? Let me just put the print also. Print. Okay, so B, A, N, A, and we can just increase it by one more, and then print 6 letters. All right. We can also find the length of string, and we could say length of fruits, and say this length of fruit, not fruits. So you can see that. I hope this is clear. Length of fruit is what? We can check that. It's 6, and range of 0 to 6. Range of 0 to 6 means range of 0 to 6 means. Let me just see if I can print it like this. I have to do a for loop here. Okay, never mind. So I've already done that. So from 0 to 6 is what it was. 0 to 5, it's going to go over. Okay, so it basically printed each character. Okay. How can I print in the same line? You can use sys.out.write. Okay, we'll talk about that again. Correct. So here when I say 0 to 5, okay, I'll show you what it means. Let me just show you what it means. So if we have 0 to 6 here, and I print I, it basically goes from here to here. So starting with 0, print total 6 numbers. So range 0 to 6 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many numbers? Total 6. So starting with 0, print 6 numbers. That's what it means. Okay, that's what this range means. I hope that's clear. Okay, those who are asking about if we have to print in the same line without the new line, you can import sys, and you can say sys.out.write, and you could say hi, and don't worry, I'm just, it's very common to have the little bit of digression as we talk about. Std out, sorry, std out. Okay, so you can see that in case you have, in case you want to print on the same line without the new line, you can use sys.std out, right? Great, great. So our question is for I in the range 1 to 5, print I, it only prints 1 to 4. How many total numbers? 5, right? So when I say for I range 1 to 5 and say print I, okay, so it's going to start at 1 and total of 5 it's going to print. Sorry, it is going to start at 1 and go just before the 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If I say 2 here, then it is going to go only up to 1 and not go beyond 2. Okay, so basically this is the upper limit. So this is equal to saying in earlier languages, so we will say I equals to 1 while I less than 2 and I plus plus, right? You remember this syntax? So this is equivalent of this. Good, very good point. Very good point. So keep these doubts coming. That's the only way to clear the doubts. You are actually helping others. You're not stopping others by asking doubts. Okay. All right. So basically, it's a range starting at 1 lesser than this. Okay. 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 Easier way to we must get very comfortable with the Jupyter. Okay. And because most of these doubts can be quickly verified and checked. Okay. Most of these doubts can be quickly verified and checked. All right. So basically, we can access any character using this, using the index. Okay. Using the index, we can access anything at any point of time. Okay. Now, coming back to, okay. So if you try to access something which does not exist, it will throw you an error. Let me show you what it means. So let's say there is right? This one is what is the index here? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So fruit 5 means right? What happens if we try to access fruit 6? If we try to access fruit 6, what happens? It throws in string index out of range. Okay? Great. So be careful when we are trying to access individual characters in a string. Function called length that gives us the length of the string. Okay, so we could find the length of the string using len. So banana is the string, and when we call length function, it gives us a number. That's the length of the function. Okay, all right. Now we can also iterate and access elements like this. Here, the string that we have defined is banana. Index is 0, while index is lesser than the length of the fruit, then 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 we are basically assigning the current character from this string into letter, and then we are printing it. So banana, 1 is a, 2 is n, and so on, right? That's how the index is. So let me show you and share the code with you. Okay, all right, do you see that? You see, 0 is B, A is 1, and so on. Correct? All right, let's move. I think it's pretty clear to everyone. All right. Similar to this, there is a better way of going through it. We could, if we just wanted to go over the characters, we could say fruit is this, and we could say, because string is nothing but array of characters, a list of characters, and therefore we could iterate over the string. You can see that in the fruit, print the letter. All right. Okay, so we have already talked about it. Let's say we want to count the total number of letters, as in total number of A's, then we can use this kind of logic. Okay, we are saying word is this, and we are saying letter in the word. If letter is A or letter is equals to A, then count is increased by 1, and then we are printing count. Okay, so you can try this out. We could say print word count, so you can see that it has got 3 A's. Okay, in the same way we could count the total number of vowels. Question from Bindao is, print out the result of a for loop in the same line, right? That's your question. So let's say what I would like to do is I would like to print all of these in a single line, correct? So what I can do is I could say import sys and say sys dot stdout dot right. Is that what you want to achieve? You can see that it's in the same line. Okay, just to check if doing something. Okay, so you see that I've just printed everything in the same line. All right. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on when we are iterating over a string. The iteration variable letter here iterates through the sequence, which is an ordered set. So we are iterating over this sequence. The block of the code, this is the body of the code, is executed once for each of the value in the sequence. The sequence could be anything. It could be a string, it could be an array, it could be a result from a data set. Okay, so iteration variable moves through all the values in the sequence. Okay, so that's what is going on. All right, now is a very cool thing about Python. You can actually slice and dice. Example, we have a string called Monty Python, and you can actually do a lot of cool things with the strings. Okay, so let's say Monty Python. Okay, so if I say 0 onwards, everything from the beginning. Okay, if I say 1 to 2, right? Starting from 1, which is this, lesser than or equal to 2, that's O. Okay, Oh, is it? Share my screen again. I see. I see. Maybe some bug or something. All right. A question from Tanmay is a string immutable? Yes, you cannot change things in string so easily. Okay. If you are changing, you are generally creating a new strings internally. We will describe that in a minute. Okay. So you can actually slice and dice the strings. For example, S04 is S04 is okay. Let me turn it off. I'm just trying this video thing. So give me a moment. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's get back to where we were. All right. So we can actually do a couple of magical things with the string. One of them is going from 0 to 4. 0 to 4 means from here till here. Okay. 0 to 4 means less than 4. Okay. Just like range, here also it's the same thing. So 0 to 4 means this. Similarly, 6 to 7 means starting from 6 but lesser than 7. That means only P. Then 6 to 20 means starting from 6 but lesser than 20. But here it's only up to 11 character. Therefore, it will print only till the end. Okay, you want to give it a shot? Let me just give the code to you and you should be able to do it. Clear it up. Okay, there's no need of this one. There's no need of this one. There's no need of this particular part. Okay, so you see Mont, P, and Python. Okay, let me save it and send it across to you. Okay, so you can access the URL from the GitHub repository which I've given to you. Okay, now this is something really interesting, and now we can also access the entire thing, the entire range up to a particular index or after a particular index. Okay, for example, if I say S:2, that means everything is starting from the beginning till 2. Okay, but not including 2. So you have 0 and 1, right? 0 and 1, that's what it means. Similarly, when I say 8 colon, it means starting with 8 till the end. Okay, from the beginning till 2 is what it means by MO, but 2 is not included. That in the range, that is the thing. The right boundaries are generally not included. Okay, so from the beginning till 2 is 02, right? And so on. You must give it a try. You will get an idea of it. Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. Okay, all right. Let me help you with this. Okay, there are some questions that require answering. Let me answer. Okay, so I hope this is clear to all of you that you can actually access, say, S0 colon, that means everything you can print. Okay, and if you say S and colon, that also the entire string. And if I say S up to 4, that means 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's what it's going to print. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. MONT, right? Lesser than 4. Okay, so if I say 1 colon, it means starting from 1, which is O, and till the end. Okay, so you can do the substring very quickly using these slicing operators, right? These are really easy. Now, here is a question from Binta. Question is that when I import sys and when I iterate over the range, okay, what's happening is it's not working. Okay, so it says that int object has nothing called decode. Okay, this is interesting. So if you just change it to str, basically you will have to cast it by yourself. In that case, it will work fine. Okay, good. Thank you, Tanmay. A question from Gopi. Because the second argument is the number of elements and 0 is the first element, am I understanding correctly? Second argument is not number of elements. It's basically just before the last. Okay, so when I say range means going from 1, keep on increasing by 1 till just before 10. Okay, just before 10. So if I have to write it using indefinite loop, this is how I'll do. While I less than 10, while I less than 10, print, sorry, it's going forever, so I'll have to interrupt. You see, we just made an infinite loop. I equals I minus 1. Sorry, again, I made a mistake. It should be I plus 1. Now it's correct. Okay. So does it make sense to you? So these two technically are same thing. Just that in the second one, we just saw that we could make mistakes multiple times. All right, great, great. A question from Rohit that so in slicing a string, it is basically seen as an array of characters. That's exactly the way it is. So its array of characters is how you look at it. All right, you can concatenate one string with another by putting the plus. Similarly, this is another very useful thing. It is using in as a logical operator. Using in as a logical operator. So, for example, we could use this and in and find out if this character exists in the string or not. Okay. Okay, so if our fruit is banana, so let me just check if the fruit is still banana or did we change it? It's still banana. So we could say A in fruit. It's true, right? Similarly, BA in fruit, which is again true. Okay, we could also say BANA in fruit, which is true, right? So if we want to check whether B in AEIOU, right? Okay, so we can create very simply a function called is vowel, right? And let's say we are passing a letter here and we are saying return letter in AEIOU. Basically, is vowel will work fine with You can see that we just created. Generally, this is not the way we define functions. We generally define the nomenclature in this way. Okay, so let me just correct myself. Right? So we can generally check. If, all right. All right. Great, great. So basically, using in, you can check whether some number exists in the fruit or not. Okay, this is very much same as saying 1 in 1 comma 2 comma 3, right, which is true, right? So basically, in a list of things or array of things, you can generally use the operator called in. Also, we can compare two strings. Like, for example, here we are comparing word with banana. So the way the comparison happen is based on lexical ordering. Lexical ordering is what? The way the words exist in the dictionary. The one that exists in the beginning is smaller than the word that exists in some way between. Okay, for example, apple is lesser than banana, correct? Which is true. All right. So, so you can easily compare the strings and also take a look at, say, saying apple is lesser than apricot. Okay. So it'll keep on comparing from left to right till here both are same. Then R is bigger than P because alphabetically R comes after P, right? So this statement is true. Great. So this is how the string comparisons work. So you can use string comparisons in many ways. Also, please note that the comparison is based on something called something the way an individual character is represented internally as a big number. That's called an ASCII number, and therefore you can see that the apple in caps is lesser than apple in small. Okay, why? Because ASCII value of capital A is lesser than ASCII value of small a. So we can just check ASCII code for A. The code for A is, or you can just say ASCII value. Does it automatically show you? So you can see the ASCII value for A is 065. Okay, while the ASCII value of smaller a is how much? Smaller a is 97. 97 is uh, 97 is for smaller a, and 65 is for capital A. Right? That's why smaller a is lesser than capital A because one is 65, other is 95. You can find out that using odd. Okay, you can also find out using odd the ASCII value of individual character. Good. I hope I'm not confusing. So individual string or characters are internally represented by a number. All right. You can also use lower and upper methods in the string library. So every string has many methods available to it, and you can utilize those. So we can take a look at all methods which a string provides. Okay, the string library provides us all these methods. as we go ahead. So you can see is alphanumeric is one of the method, is digit is another method, is lower is another method, and so on. There are many methods which are available on the string class. Let's say we want to convert our fruits. Our fruit is banana, and if I want to convert it into upper, all I have to do is call upper. Okay, so that's all we have to do in order to okay. So so we are able to do all kinds of string operations on using Python. All right. So we can do the lower, we can also convert it into upper and so on. Right. And just to instead of if you don't like this help document and you're just interested in looking at the looking at all the methods, just pass any string object to dir. It will show you all the methods, right? You have replace, you have rfind, you have radjust, there is rstrip, there is strip, there is split method. Let's say you want to convert this is a sentence into into the the array of words. So it broke down a big sentence into array of words. You see that? Using a split. And let's say you are reading data from a file and that contains new lines in the end. You can simply use strip. Okay, you can simply use strip and it will remove the trimming. It will trim the new line characters from end. All right. So there are many methods available, and some of these methods are this is okay. Some of these methods you can quickly take a look at using dir. Okay. All right. You can capitalize interesting and so on. Just take a look at this library and you will get a fair amount of idea on the library. Okay. Now, to find a character, to find something in a string, you can use something called find. Okay. It will basically find for exact match and it will basically do the what do you call index of. Okay. So we can find a particular string here. You can search and replace. Okay. If you want to search and replace, it will basically not replace, it will basically create a new string and will give you the results. So I'll just show you what it means. So we have, let's say, hello Bob, and then we want to okay, now we are going to say print this. All right, so you can see that it has replaced Bob with Jane. The display should appear soon. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we are able to replace Bob with Jane very easily by saying replace it. Though if you notice, the greet will remain the same. See that? Greet is still the same. It just after replacing it has created a new string, and that's what it is. All right. So we are able to use various functions. You must give it a try. You want me to update this? I'm going to just save and push it, and Let me. Okay, so I have updated the GitHub file. You can access it here. What does strip do? Strip basically removes the new line at the end of it. Okay. Now here's a question from Tanmoy. I'm trying to split and join. Let me show you what it means. Let's say you are trying to join. You're trying to split. Okay, and then you want to join it based on some other thing. Okay, let me see. Um, this is not good. Okay, so let's say this is a sentence, and if I split it, okay, it becomes an array, right? So to join an array, what you have to do is you have to, whatever character you want to join with, you have to say join dot join and then call it. Okay, so see that we just joined based on the hash. Okay, so using join method, you can join an array based on the character. So join is a function of string, not array. Okay, question from Gopi. Are you removing the new line character in strip? Yes, that's what a strip function does. Great, great set of questions. Keep the questions coming. That's the only way to learn. And to all the audience, please ask questions. It's only a couple of people who are asking questions. Please ask questions. That's the only way to learn. Okay, it's never too late. Okay, and there is no question called dumb question. Every question is important. All right, so please ask questions. Great, great. Now we talked about strip earlier, so we can remove the spaces and new lines from either side of the string using a strip. If you just want to remove the spaces and new line from the left hand side, we can use L strip, and only this side of the string will spaces or new line will disappear, while if you say right strip, it will remove the white spaces from the right hand side. The left hand side will remain as such, while the strip command will remove it from both the sides. It will remove the white space. White space could be because of new line, it could be because of tab, it could be because of space. Okay, that's what is called white space. We can also find out if a string starts with something using starts with. So, and you will study as we go ahead with machine learning that a lot of work involves fiddling around with the strings. A lot of work involves fiddling around with the strings, and that's why we are investing some amount of time in strings. Okay, so let's say we have line. Okay, and we can say we want to check if the line starts with this. Okay, so in this way we can easily find out if a line starts with something. So I can show you this. Okay, see that the line starts with please, but if I say line starts with have, that's not right. Correct. Here it's p is small, that's why it's false. Okay, a question from Binta is, can you give us an example how underscore and underscore contains underscore self key works? Okay, those are internal functions. We'll talk about internal functions soon. Those are used when we say th- those are used when we say I mean those are used when we put when we use a keyword like in. Okay, those are used in for the keyword like in. Those are internal functions. Okay, so a question from Tanmay is that how do you ignore case, please? How do you find the ignore case, please? Let me just see how to do that. I would honestly, in case of real environment, I would actually use regular expressions for this. But in this case, let me see if we can, if we have a function, if we have a function at in this, and what is called, and starts with, okay. The general idea would be, if I had to do the same thing what here, right? And I'm looking for, I'm trying to ignore case. So what I'll do is I'll say line dot lower, okay, and then start with please, right? This is what I'll do actually. All right. Binta, was I able to answer your question regarding the contains? It's a good question. It's just that these functions, what you see here, starting with double underscore, those are internal functions used in other circumstances. For example, what to do if somebody calls length. This is the method that will be used. If somebody is saying greater than or lesser than the operator, then this method is used. Okay. All right. All right. Wonderful, wonderful set of questions. Okay. Now, very often we try to extract text, extract data from various things. For example, imagine that the first line of an email contains this kind of text. Okay. All right. So let's say the emails contain this kind of text. So what we are looking for, we're trying to extract email address from the email address from this line. An email address is starting from here till here, correct? So what we'll do is we will try to find at, okay, so we got the location of at. That means if this at position had been -1, that means the at is not found. This character, which is generally found in emails, is what we are looking for. Now, then once we are done with that, we will look for space at this, right? All right. So this is the 30th character, 31st character here. And okay, here this is 31, this is 21. Okay. So we can easily find the host in this manner. Okay. There is something called lfind. If you are using lfind, it will search to this side. By default, it'll search to this side. Okay. So this way we can extract the host name from the email address here. Okay, we will go over the regular expression briefly. Also, I will share with you one of the tutorials that I built for learning regular expressions, because regular expressions are something that is used to do this kind of magic, because it will require a lot of coding, while in regular expression you can actually extract and match all kinds of values very easily. So most of the text matching and text parsing is done using regular expression. Okay, so that's about our brief introduction of strings. Okay, a question from Subrama. Could you repeat what does it mean by the underscores? Okay, what it means by underscores is, let's say when we do dir or when we say help, it shows us many of these functions. These functions are internal functions. These are kind of hidden functions. We invoke these functions using operators. For example, when we call double equal sign with a string, this function is invoked. Okay, and when we say lesser than, that symbol lesser than, this function is invoked. And when we say when we say lesser than equal to, this is invoked. And when we say lesser than, this is invoked. And not equals invokes this. These are internal functions which are used by operators. Sure, I will give you the regular expressions examples more. Okay, let me get ready with that. Okay, so all right. So what we saw just now, that using the string manipulations, we were able to extract the host name from this string. Okay. All right. Great. Now, a very, very important part. Let's talk about files. Okay. So far, all the variables that we talked about were in the memory. They were kept in the RAM. And okay, so basically, whenever we did if x is lesser than 3x was in the main memory. Okay, in the main memory. And all of this instructions and everything is generally kept in the main memory. And very often, we have to read data from files. Files are important because that's how the data remains forever. In the main memory disappears when the computer shuts down or something happens to the PC. So the moment that happens, the main memory disappears. Also, the the way we communicate main memory's data to others or hand it over to somebody is by the way of files, right? So the main data is in the files. Okay, so a text file can be thought of as sequence of lines. Okay, this is an example of text file, and even the code that we are saving is actually a text file. Okay, it's actually a text file. So you can open a file using open method. A question from Binta is that how can I read data from website? We will talk about that. We'll talk about how to download data from website and so on. Okay. Before we can read the content of the file, we must tell Python which file do we want to read or do we want to write to, and what we're going to do with the file. So we have a function called open. Open returns a file handle. File handle is kind of a variable that we are going to operate upon. It's an object which gives us various methods to manipulate file. So it's similar to when we say open, it's similar to file open and we open it in word processor. Equals open file name mode. Okay. So when we say something like this, handle equals open mbox.txt, it returns a handle to use to manipulate the files. File name is a string and the mode is optional and should be R. If we are planning to read the file and W, if we are planning to read the file, okay, we use R, otherwise we use W. If we want to write to it, we use W as the mode. So mode is optional. By default, if you do not provide mode, that means we are going to read. Okay, so I'm just going to read a file. Okay, so you can create a file using, say, here, let's say Jupyter. I'm creating a file here, creating a file. Okay, and I'm also going to save it, and the name I'm going to change it to, say, mbox.txt. Okay, this is one line, this is another line. Okay, so I'm just going to save it. Now I'm going back to the place where my Jupyter notebook is. So I'm in the notebook, and here I'm saying file handle equals open. What was the name of the file? mbox.txt, and that's it. You see? So I've just, the mode is R, and this is the file. Okay, so if I say f handle dot read, what happens? So it has read the whole file. You see that? It has read the whole file, the file that we wrote here. Okay, and how did I write? Wherever my Python notebook was, I did new and said text file, and that's it. All right, Binta, we will talk about that after a while. Okay, so you will get the idea. But keep this question. This is a very important question, and I would love to answer it. Okay, so here we've just read the whole file as a text file. Okay, now since it's kind of entirely read, we can again open it and then check and then read it. Okay, the important aspect to have be able to read from file, because that's how most of the systems communicate. All right, so I've updated the Jupyter Notebook on GitHub. You can use that. Okay, so what we just did was we opened a file in the read-only mode and then edited it. All right. So your program can open the handle, can read from it, write to it, and close the handle. And the handle internally is talking to the actual disk. Okay, so you can open the handle, and in case the file is not found, it will throw an error saying no such file or directory. Okay, okay. Good questions, Tanmay and Manoj and Binta. We're going to talk about these very soon. Okay. A question from Gopi: does the file automatically close by default, or does it stay in the memory for further command? It closes by a method called close. Okay. We need to call a method called close, and I'll show you how to avoid that part. Okay. Now, we use a special character called new line to indicate when the line ends. For example, if first line is containing hello and second line is containing world, you will see /n. That's what it means here. You see, there is one /n here, the other /n here. What does it mean? This /n and this /n. There's a new line, right? And there is a new line here. That's what it means by /n. Yes, we are going to cover pandas after this. Okay. All right. So we have new line like this. And also there are other special characters. Also, new line is also a character, and even if there is, let's say there are only two characters here, x and y, and there is a slash n here, so it's going to be three characters, not two characters. You can check this. So length of x slash n y is 3, not 4, not 2. All right. So a text file could be thought of as a sequence of lines. Okay, so there are slash n everywhere. Okay, there are slash n at the end of every line. The file handle, a file handle open for read can be treated as sequence of strings, where each line in the file is a string in the sequence. Okay, so you can actually do a very cool thing with the file. You can say file handle equals open file, and then you can iterate over the file handle. You can iterate over this file handle. Okay, so this sequence is an ordered set. This is always an ordered set, meaning it's always from top to bottom. All right, so let's say we want to count the number of lines in a file. So what we do is we basically open the file, and then we say for line in this handle, keep on increasing the count, and then we print the line count. All right, and then we can use this to basically call it from outside and find out the number of lines in this file. Okay, all right, so we can actually do it easily. Let's say in the mbox file, if we say if line in f handle, we say count, initialize count with 0, and when we say count plus equals to, count equals to count plus 1, okay, then we finally print count. See, there are two lines, correct? There are two lines in this. Is it clear to everyone? All right. A question from Vinta is that, are we covering NumPy, Pandas, SciPy, Scikit-learn? Yes, we are going to cover that. All right. All right, so we are able to do the line count very easily. And of course, this way we can also do the character count and word count. So as an assignment to all of you, do the line count, word count, and character count using Python. Okay? Okay. So if you want to read the whole file, you can simply say, you can simply call a method called read, the one that we called earlier. It'll read the entire file as a string. On that string, you can compute length, you can do the substring, and you can do whatever operations that are allowed on a string. Okay, the other part is searching through a file. So let's say you are trying to look for all the lines that contain from, that contain a particular word, that are starting with a particular word. Then you can simply say for line in file handle, if line starts with from, you can print that line. Okay, so you can quickly find out all the lines that contain the email address in an inbox. Okay, if you have exported all of the data into a file, then you can use this. Okay, all right. So there are quite a few new lines. You can strip them because of the slash n character. You can strip them using rstrip, and delete these lines. Okay. All right. If you want to skip only those lines which are starting with from, you can use continue so that print never reaches if the line is starting from with from. Okay. All right. Again, okay. Again, you could use the complex operations. Like here, we are looking for a domain name in the address, and only then we are printing something. Similarly, we can also read the input file from the user and do something about it. Okay. So you can do quite a few things, and you can put try and catch, try and accept in case the file does not exist or something is wrong with the input file name. Okay. So basically, this is something we could give it a try, and let me just show you what it means. All right. So let's take a look at what the whole code. So first of all, we're going to read the file name from the user. Then we're going to open it. Then we're going to open it, meaning this is a file handle. And there's a question from Subrama that what's the difference between file handle.read and for line in find? If you want to operate line wise, then we use for line in find. Okay, for line in file handle. Okay, this means we this loop will iterate over the file handle. It'll get one line at a time. Okay, if you want to operate line wise, then we use this kind of a syntax. If you want to read the entire file into a string, if we want to read the entire file into a string, and then we use file handle dot read. Okay, file handle dot read. File handle dot read reads the entire data into a string, the way we have done it here. All right, so what we are doing is we are first reading the file name from the user. If the file name, if the file name is wrong or there is something wrong in opening this file, it'll print this error. Okay, and then exit. Exit means it will stop the program and go. All right, it won't let it proceed further. Now further, if count is 0, here we are setting count 0 and then iterating over the file handle. If the line is starting with subject, we increase the count, and then we can print at the end that how many files that started with subject. Okay, so let's just put some subject I and subject. This is smaller, so this should not be caught. This is again another subject. So what should be the answer for this? What should be the answer for this? Let's see. So we are saying mbox.txt, that's the file name. It says there were two subject lines in mbox. Okay, there were two subject lines in mbox. We just created this file for the purpose of this class. Okay. Okay, a question from Subrama. If the file is large, would read the entire thing? Yes, if the file is large, it could overflow the memory, and therefore we generally avoid read method. A question from Manoj. If we put a break instead of exit in the program, will this work in the same way? No. The break doesn't mean much because break is only for loops, not for the program. If let's say we're trying to put break here, you see, okay, so let's see what happens. It says break is outside the loop. Do you see that? Why? Because break is supposed to be only for breaking the loops, not exiting the program. Let me see. Oh, I forgot to put the brackets here. All right. So this is what goes on. A question from Gopi. Is there something to read in section like pipe more command? Right, right. So do you mean do you mean that if we are saying help or doing something, we can go with more? Here you can actually scroll easily and take a look. Okay. Is that what you meant? Okay. And of course, the of course, you can call your program from the command line and use the Unix piping along with the program. Okay. Okay. Or you could write in your program if there's a lot of content you're printing to the screen, you can write in your program that print only 20 lines at a time, read a character from the user, and then show the next 20 lines. Okay, that's how you can handle a lot of screen data that you're putting on the user's screen. If you are putting a lot of data on the user's screen, the chances are that there will be a screen blindness, and therefore you should be careful about putting a lot of content. Okay. Yes, a question from Danmai. How can we access env variable in Python? Let's talk about it using sys object import sys. If you do that, you can access the environment variables. Okay, we'll talk about it in more details at later point. All right. Now, this was a quick summary of handling the files in Python. We will quickly go over Python lists if there is something which we need to address. All right. Okay. No worries, Subrama. Every question is important, and I'll handle the questions, don't worry. So, Bintao, yes, to find out all the functions in Python, generally you can refer to the manual of Python. And also, a better way would be that whatever object do you have, you generally take a look at it. All right. So, by the end of this course, you will have a fair amount of idea about what objects to use. Otherwise, you can generally search on the internet and you can find the objects and their functions available. Along with that, the library for Python is infinite. You can install a lot of libraries contributed by other people easily from the console. Okay, so we will go over that also after a while. All right, great. Great set of questions. Keep the questions coming. All right. Uh, okay, so a list is a kind of collection of things. You could put multiple things in an array, and that's what is a list. Okay, what is not a collection? The basic primitive types are not a collection. Integer float is not a collection. Okay, the list constants List constants are surrounded by square brackets and the elements in the list are separated by commas. A list element can be any Python object and even another list. So list can contain any other list and list can be empty. All right. So list and definite loops, which is for loop, are kind of best friends. You can always pass a list as argument and can print it. Okay. So if you want to look at the list, you can simply print it, or you can, just like strings, you can address individual value using an index. Lists are mutable, meaning we can change list, we can update a particular value with something, and while strings are the list which are not mutable, meaning we cannot change a string. If we try to do this, if we try to, the way we were having a fruit called banana, right? So if we try to change, say, zeroth character with character with character, it says an error. It says that a string object does not support item assignment. Okay, while let's say we have, right? Let's say we have a string x equals 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we want to change the zeroth character with something. So we can say this. So we can change the zeroth value of a list using this. This is something which we could not do in case of a string. So that's the difference between a list and a immutable and mutable list. Okay, so basically the lists are mutable and we can change lists, while strings are unchangeable, which is immutable. All right. Okay, that does not mean that we cannot assign things to a string. We can always say fruit equals apple, right? This means the value of fruit is overwritten, but we cannot modify existing string. So if we try to modify this, it would not work. Okay. All right. So we will continue from this in the next session. And next session, I think next weekend is the weekend in which we will cover up the entire Python, and then we will continue to our data machine learning subjects. Okay. So in this course, in the Python Foundation course, we are going to cover the scikit-learn and other parts as well. Okay. All right. So great to have all of you in the session. It's great to have great set of questions. All right. Keep the questions coming and go over to cloudxlab.com and you can attempt to all the questions and you can attempt to all the questions here under my courses, and there would be a Python course somewhere. For me, there are just too many courses, and here. So introduction to Python, there are quite a few courses that you should attempt to. Okay, even if you have not enrolled for the course and you have only enrolled for this session, still you can access this course. There are quite a few exercises you must give it a try to. Okay, that's the only way to learn and that's the only way to retain. Okay, so this whole thing is actually updated in GitHub, and right away you can actually go, except for the slides will be updated soon in the in our LMS. You can see that there is one slide here and so on. Okay, so there are slides available. You can take a look. We'll be updating others. While in the meantime, please finish all the exercises. Okay, In the meantime, please finish the exercises for all. Okay, please attempt those. Only the lab access is something that you need to pay for, otherwise everything else is free. Okay, right, please share your experience with the link shared by Abhishek Agarwal. All right, Abhishek is from our team, so please share your experience about today's class. All right, great set of questions, great set of audience. I look forward to you uh, in the next session. Okay, I look forward to you in the next session. Today we have given a repository link somewhere. Where did it go? I think this is the link. This is where you will find the all of the scripts that we have discussed today. Okay, this is the link there where you will find all the script, all the uh, examples that we have discussed today. All right, I look forward to see you all in the next session. Bye bye. Have a good day.